Hey everyone, it's Ivan, Competence.com, out here today to talk about the next best thing to buy. We'll go ahead and start with a couple of uncomfortable truths, one of which being possession does not equal competence. Whether it's a gun or even something like a blade, just because you possess it does not mean you are in fact competent with it. Those are not the same, but if you do possess something, it opens the door for you to actually become competent with it, but you can't just possess it and be competent. Sorry. The other part is you cannot buy competence with something. So, for example, the other day I was out shooting this with a buddy, taking this thing with this little red dot out to like 500 yards off a tripod, standing, and it was doable. Definitely had to earn it. So could I buy a scope and then be better? I could buy a scope and then I could see my target better. And so I could increase the capability, but it wouldn't just magically make me more competent. I still have the same skill set I have coming into it. It's just now I can either see my hits or see my misses better because of the ability that basically that optic lent. So we can't possess something and be competent with it. We also can't buy competence. So what is the best thing that we can spend our money on? Some of you are like, man, this is not shaping up to be the video I thought it was going to be. I thought he was just going to tell me what I needed to buy to be a ninja. Not really a thing. And here's the thing when it comes to spending your hard-earned money. What are you getting from it? Are you actually increasing your capability in some way? Or are you buying something just because you're like, oh man, that's going to make me better? Again, possession doesn't equate to competence. So yeah, where does that all like kind of play out? I will say there are very few things I've bought that personally have like increased quality of life well-being. And I will say first and foremost, like if you don't own a firearm with respect to personal protection, self-defense and stuff like that, probably a good place to start. But once you have one, just having more doesn't necessarily make you better prepared, or for that matter, even more competent with said firearms without like training and all of those other things. So if you're going to spend money in one place, like where do you get the most from it? Well, if you're going to buy something, how is it going to improve your life? Like, and will it measurably? To be totally honest, the last thing I bought that actually had a measurable impact on my life, Berkey water filter. Bought it probably like about a year and a half ago. Waited for it to be on sale like Black Friday or something, because I don't know, I think like $350, something like that. Literally just sits on my counter. Just a water filter. Stainless steel, some amazing filters in it. And it arguably has a greater impact like on my health and well-being as well as that of my family than anything else I would spend that same amount of money on, because it just sits there and now we have good water. And it's one of those with respect to clean water, for example, by the time a boil advisory comes out, like, hey, we realized something got through like our treatment plant with our municipal water, you should probably boil it for the next week. They didn't just discover like, oh man, we should have people boil water. Usually a bunch of people got sick, and then behind the power curve, they're like, oh yeah, hey, you should probably do this while we get this figured out. This alleviates any of that. Not to mention you can like literally lake water, stream, like run off from the street, pour it in that thing, have clean water. That in turn is valuable. More valuable than any optic I'm gonna get or anything else like that for my gun. I'm like, oh man, this is gonna make me so much better. Probably not. Like, it's the Indian, not the arrow. So if you're not going to buy something, where does that money probably best serve you? Usually in some sort of experience. I want to say experience, it can be pretty much anything, to include like taking a course. if something you are very concerned with and something that is important to you is having skills and ability to protect yourself and your loved ones, yeah, that money on that experience, a training course, could be incredibly valuable. I will say once you get to a certain point, the improvement you will see will be very incremental. So I'm not saying it won't still be valuable to spend that money on those experiences. I'm just saying the ROI might get kind of start to narrow down a little bit. Possible. You can also just actually go spend that time and money on ammo and train on your own if you come up with like a good training regime. Again, if that stuff is important to you. For me personally, yeah, like experiences. That is probably the most valuable thing I can actually spend money on. And it doesn't have to be gun-centric. By way of example, the best, probably $1,500, I guess it is, that I spent of like recent memory was with my son, going to play Pokemon Go. Leading up to Christmas 2023, I guess it would be. It was like, hey Jada, what would you like for Christmas? At this point, he's 13, about to turn 14, very beginning of January. And he's like, I really want to go to the Sinnoh Tour, which is basically this, well, a in-person event at the Rose Bowl in Los Angeles. And it's a Pokemon Go event. Really into Pokemon Go. And I start looking, it's like $500 plane ticket, round trip. On top of that, all the other expenses with it, to include the tickets themselves to actually get access to it. And I'm like, yeah, that's a lot more than like a Christmas present. And I'm like, okay, here's the deal. This will be your Christmas as well as your birthday present. If you want to do that, in addition to that, you're going to do some work for me because that's a lot of money. And he's like, okay, like I really want to do it. So clear it with his mom. And the deal was like, hey, you need to continue to maintain your straight A's, your 4.0, if you want to do this. And he's like, all right. So he grounded out and he helped me with stuff. And I put away money because honestly, $1,500, that's a pretty big expense in my life. And got that money together. And we ended up going for, I guess, a total of 4 days. Went, stayed with some family, and had an incredible time out there playing Pokemon Go. Some of you are like, damn, $1,500, you could buy like 3 Glocks or one really fancy Glock that is less reliable than those 3 factory Glocks. Yeah, or I could have a $1,500 experience with my son who had basically just turned 14. A shared experience. And for me, 100% completely worth it. It was an incredible trip. And I recognize as a father that like I don't necessarily foresee my son just not wanting to do things with me in the future. But I also recognize that in the future, there will be less time because there will be other things for him to do. Whether it's spend time with friends, as soon as girls come into the picture, all of those other things, eventually there will not be as much time for he and I to go do things. And this is something he really wanted to do, and we went and did it. And it was so cool. It was so much fun. We had a blast. And if anyone was wondering, and you're a nerd, I ended up actually getting a Shundo Origin Form Palkia. Shiny, 100% 4-star, which is incredible. Jada's like, I'm so happy for you and really jealous at the same time. I'm like, I know, I just got really lucky. Tons and tons of fun. Yes, while I'm in the business of reviewing guns, gear, all these different things, I try and present information to you so that if you are actually interested in parting with your money because you're like, hey, I'm looking at this stock or this optic or grip or whatever it is, hopefully, based on me using it and creating a use case for it, if it's something that you think would be an improvement, or honestly, it's something that you just want and you have the income for it, cool. Hopefully you can make an informed decision. But again, just possession does not equal competence. And you can't buy your way into competence. One thing you can buy, though, that will last forever is an experience. Whether it is some sort of training course, which again conveys value through that training if it's something you want to do. And I'll say right now, there are some courses where you'll see people that are there because they want to go to gun camp, which is fine because honestly, most shooting courses are a lot of fun. And you'll see some other people there, or for that matter, certain curriculum that is designed way more with respect to real world application of violence for people that are actually really interested in getting their skills better with respect to interpersonal violence for protection of their self as well as their loved ones, versus just like, hey, I want to go have fun and maybe do this shooting that probably doesn't apply to everyday life. Nothing wrong with any of that. But for me personally, what I realized is it is largely experiences that I end up valuing way more than anything. And granted, there are certain things which allow for experiences, whether it's a gun that I go shoot in a shooting course or for that matter, a competition, because I want to go take that course or competition. Or, as I mentioned, some sort of cool experience that you just want to go do and basically build memories for the rest of your life. So, moral of the story, obviously, is to just go out and buy more guns that you're not very good at shooting. I'm just kidding. Really, at the end of the day, like, you do you. If you get a lot of value and satisfaction out of possessing something, so you can basically flex on people on social media and get some sort of validation from people you don't even know, like, yeah, fly your flag, man. I'm just kidding. But if that is you, like, do your thing. For me personally, it's about experiences. And I would encourage you to, next time you're looking at buying something, be like, hey, how will this actually positively impact my life? Will this make my day-to-day life better? Will I actually get a lot of enjoyment out of having it? Because you can possess something and then go have an experience, whether for the sake of argument, a gun that you're going to go shoot in a competition or something along those lines, or go hunt with, something like that. Yeah, like this can help facilitate a experience, but ultimately, usually it's about an experience that is valuable, whether it's giving us skills and abilities and or just giving us memories and the opportunity to bond, share those experiences, like, yeah, great memories that we'll have much longer than whatever physical thing. Yeah, just something to think about. But as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.